Hey, it's your friend Choice CJ here, and I'm bringing you guys my replay of my Week 2 battle of the UBC versus Regulator, coach of the Los Angeles Clefable. I'm doing a post-com because when I played this match, it was kind of late at night, and I've been feeling really sick, and I've been waiting for some time to actually do my battle with Greg, so I don't think I provided a lot of good commentary in that, so I wanted to try and do a better job of explaining the plays, and I'm still not feeling 100%, but I'm certainly feeling better now than I was at the time. If you missed my team builder, I am rocking a Mega Audino, especially defensive to take on Manaphy. It has Wish Protect, Thunder Wave, and Knockoff. I added Knockoff over Thunderbolts. After some playtesting, I did a practice match with my buddy Jonah, aka Isolate, who is the coach of the Tampa Bay Zygarde 10s. So big shout outs to him for helping me out. I really appreciate that. I have a FizzDef Bronzong with Stealth Rock, Heavy Slam, Earthquake, and Toxic. I originally was packing dual screens, but I wanted Earthquake to hit the Muck, because in testing the Muck was a huge threat, and Toxic would be nice for things like Miltank and possibly Tangrowth. Unfortunately, he did not bring Miltank. I thought he would because it's his best Entei check, but I guess he does have the Manaphy potentially. Manaphy doesn't take Banded Flare Blitzes particularly well, but it can take it well enough, and it can still outspeed with Scald. I have a Life Orb Thunderous Eye with Thunder Wave, Thunderbolt, Focus Blast, and Volt Switch. And T-Wave is just really nifty for Pokemon like Staraptor and Aerodactyl, because those Pokemon are probably going to be fast and are probably going to hit hard, so it would be nice to be able to reduce their speed and give them that small chance to be fully paralyzed. I've got Substitute Nidoking with Earth Power, Flamethrower, and Sludge Wave. I was originally packing Ice Beam over Earth Power, but Muck just proved to be too much of a problem in playtesting, so I dropped Ice Beam. The reason that I dropped Ice Beam over Flamethrower is that I wanted the Flamethrower to hit Magnet Rise Klefki, which is the main thing I anticipated substituting on. I have a Black Hole Eclipse Greninja with Hydro Pump, Dark Pulse, Spikes, and U-Turn. I had originally Grassium Z on this, but this was before the team builder though. In the team builder I had the Darkinium Z, because I wanted to be able to do a little bit more damage to Tangrowth on a potential switch in, and then I also wanted to be able to hit Manaphy for like 50% or so. And then lastly, I have a Calm Mind Mew with Will-O-Wisp to hit in the Muck on the switch in, because that's his primary switch into Mew. It's also nifty because it makes it sort of a switch in for Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl just doesn't have like a tremendous damage output, like even with Tough Claws, because Tough Claws, if I'm not mistaken, only boosts contact moves, and something like Stone Edge is not a contact move, and then something like Aerial Ace just doesn't have tremendous base power. He could be packing the Crunch, and I do anticipate it for the Mew and the Bronzong, but I do have Culper Berry to help reduce the damage from that, and then if I can land a burn, the Aerodactyl is less of a threat. So he's brought Manaphy, Staraptor, Muck, Tangrowth, Latios, and his Mega Aerodactyl, which is close to what I expected. I expected the Manaphy and the Aero for sure, and the Muck for sure. Tangrowth was a pretty good bring because it's a nice counter to Thundy and to Greninja. I could have also, I wouldn't have been surprised if he had brought Electivire instead. You know, it's not as good at countering Greninja, but it does prevent all Volt Switch spam from Thundurus, which seems to be pretty potent versus his team. Latios, I did see in my practice match. I don't think it's as amazing versus my team. Like Audino and Bronzong are both fairly decent against it. Greninja can revenge it, and certain sets of Thundurus can take it on. I fortunately did not bring a set that does take on Latios with my Thundurus, but that's neither here nor there. And this Staraptor is definitely very good versus my team. I just, there are very few teams, period, that switch in well to Staraptor. They should come out with some sort of Rock and Ghost type that can full wall Staraptor, because it's just so hard to deal with. So anyway, my lead here, I'm going to want to lead with Thundurus, because it immediately applies pressure to his team, and it also immediately forces in the Tangrowth. So my plan is going to be to try and Volt Switch on into something that's going to threaten his team. If he brings in the Latios instead of the Tangrowth, I could probably go into my Greninja, because that threatens it with a Dark Pulse. Bronzong is also an option if I wanted to try and set up rocks, which look like they're fairly effective versus his team. So anyway, without further ado, let's hop on into this battle. So I do lead with a Thundurus, as I say. He leads with his Muck, and he is immediately going to switch into his Tangrowth, as I thought, and this is going to allow me to get some momentum right off the bat, and go into a Pokemon that really threatens this Tangrowth, being my Nidoking. So this next play, I've had a couple of days to think about this. I ended up clicking Substitute here, because I'm figuring if I can click Substitute, that I can start to wear down his, I can anticipate whatever his switch is going to be, and then go for whatever the most effective hit will be against his team. So like if he switches in Muck, I can substitute, then go for double Earth Power. If he brings in Latios, I can smack it with a Sludge Wave. If he brings in Staraptor, Manaphy, I can smack him with Sludge Waves. Aerodactyl, I unfortunately don't have a move to hit it super effectively, but the nice thing is that I haven't shown him any moves yet, so he has to be fearing Ice Beam on the Mega Arrow. So I think that his best play here is to definitely switch out his Tangrowth, because it's such a pivotal counter to Thundurus and Greninja. So that's why I did click the substitute. In retrospect, I didn't really have a good reason not to just click Sludge Wave, because he just doesn't have a great switch into that. Like the Muck can resist it, obviously, but Muck doesn't want to go up against Earth Power. Even if it's Shuka Berry, the Muck isn't going to do enough damage in return, to the point where I'm going to be knocked out by Knockoff. Like, it can get rid of my Life Orb, which definitely makes me a lot less threatening, but at the cost of his Muck, which is his only Mew counter. And again, the Arrow is going to have a hard time coming in, because it's going to take a lot of damage. It doesn't know if I have Ice Beam or not. I could be clicking Ice Beam on this Tangrowth, anticipating, that I'm making the mid-ground play, because, Ice Beam also hits Latios, also hit that Aerodactyl. So even though that was his best play, I think my best play was just click Sludge Wave, like I said. I'm trying not to be results-oriented with the way that this worked out here. He does go for the Earthquake on my sub, which, it was really making me wish that I had just clicked Sludge Wave, because then I had a 50-50 chance of killing this Tangrowth here. It showed from that Volt Switch damage that it is max Spadef Assault Vest, but even so, I'm a modest Life Orb Nidoking, and with this prior damage, I have, like I said, a 50-50 chance to kill. So, I wish I clicked Sludge Wave, obviously, because the result of that play was pretty unfortunate for me. Now my Nidoking is at half health, and it's my best way of dealing with Muck, my best way of dealing with Tangrowth. But even so, I think that substituting was unnecessary here, and in this matchup, substitute just isn't as good as I thought it would be, if that makes sense, because it's going to be really useful for well, I don't know, I can't quite explain it very well, because I'm just not very eloquent sometimes. But in any case, I think we, probably what happened is we both sort of misstepped on these last two turns. But unfortunately, it worked out worse for me than for him. It actually worked out really nicely for him. So what are you going to do? All we got to do is move on. And anticipating his Earthquake again, I am going to switch out into Thunderous, which does not take on Tangrowth, of course. But I can try and get off some damage with Focus Blast, which misses. And he goes for Knockoff, which really sucks. Go for Focus Blast again, does so little. He goes for an HP Ice. I am going to Volt Switch on this next turn. And, so I don't want to bring in my Nidoking because it's already so damaged. I don't want to bring in the Greninja because I don't want to potentially take a Grass move. I guess I could have brought in Audino because it looks like this Tangrowth isn't going to be able to hit it very hard. And my Audino does have Knockoff. I was just weary of going into Audino because it's the only thing I had to deal with Manaphy. So, sort of by process of elimination, I actually bring in the Mew here. But this is unfortunate because he goes for Knockoff and burns my Colbur Berry. I wanted to save the Colbur Berry for a Knockoff, or more accurately, a Pursuit on the Muck, or a Crunch on the Aerodactyl. So now I no longer have my Colbur Berry. Looking back, I probably should have just gone into the Audino. Because, yeah, there's just nothing that the Tangrowth can do, and I can potentially knock off an item, but again, I just didn't want it to get whittled. But anyway, I am going to be anticipating his switch into Muck here, as he does do just that, and I do land the Will-O-Wisp, which is very nice. It would have been very unfortunate if I missed. Anticipating his Pursuit, I am just going to switch on out, and he does land the Poison with the Poison Touch, which is pretty crappy. But hey, what are you gonna do? At least the Muck is poisoned. I don't remember exactly what I switched into. I'm pretty sure it's Nidoking, because I can threaten the Earth Power, and I am just gonna go straight for it because over predicting has cost me so far. Like if I had substituted here, that would have been pretty excellent. But what are you gonna do? And I unfortunately I decided to let my Nidoking go down. I could have switched into Bronzong. But Bronzong is under tremendous pressure this game versus Staraptor and possibly Aerodactyl as well. Maybe I should have gone into Mew because it could resist the Psychic that looked like it was coming, and Audino probably would have been a good play as well. But Audino didn't have its extra bulk yet because it hadn't Mega Evolved. So probably any of those plays would have been better than letting Nidoking go down, because now I have lost my ways of dealing with Tangrowth and with Muck, and it's going to be sort of a snowballing effect from here on out for the rest of the battle without my Nidoking. So I do go into Greninja because if this is a Scarf Latios, it obviously can't stay in and go for Psychic versus me. And if he's not Scarfed, he's going to be threatened by my Dark-type move. And so anticipating his switch out, I am going to go for U-turn as he brings in the Tangrowth, which is definitely a good counter to Greninja. Switch on out. I go into the Audino finally, and I do just click Knockoff as I Mega Evolve. He brings in his Muck, and I see that he has Sugar Berry, which is a nice touch for luring the Nidoking. Obviously makes me wish that he had stayed in with his Muck versus my Nidoking a few turns ago. But, there's no reason for him to do that. My Earth Power was, just so obvious, and he had a great switch-in. He had 3 great switch-ins, actually, or 4 great switch-ins. So maybe that was the play where I shouldn't have made the obvious play. Whereas I should have made the obvious play on turn 2 or whatever. But I digress. So I don't want to stay in here and take a poison move, so I'm going to try to go into Mew, because I think, okay, he does that and then I can Roost, but he shows Taunt. So I was not expecting this, and the fact that this thing learns Taunt is just good learning for me. Or maybe I knew that it got Taunt and I forgot or something like that. But yeah, I was figuring that if this thing is burned, that there's just not a lot of damage that it can do to me. I can Roost up on it, and truthfully, I can even start Calm Minding on it, as long as it doesn't have something like Pain Split to try and recover up. But obviously with the Taunt here, I can't do that, and so Taunt was a really tremendous tech on his part. It's just really really good prep, because now I have no choice but to switch out of here and take another pursuit, which is what he does, and it does 25%. So now my Mew is looking very weak. I'm gonna have a hard time switching it in because I immediately take poison damage, upon a switch in, and if he somehow gets up hazards, then I'm really screwed. But yeah, I bring in the Greninja here just because, one, I knew he was going for Pursuit, so I knew that my Greninja could come in damage free. And two, like, this thing is the Pokemon with like the most damage output at this point. I guess Thundurus also has pretty good damage output, but in any case, the problem is both Greninja and Thundy are hard checked by Tangrowth, which is what he brings in here as I click Hydro Pump. Hydro Pump's just to try and get damage off on that Muck, and just really did not work out. He makes a double here into the Manaphy as I U-turn, and that allows me to threaten it with the Thundurus. But he can once again go hard into Tangrowth as I Volt Switch. I'm going to end up Volt Switching into the Mew here because I can Roost up on this. This is like the best chance I'm going to come up with. Anticipating his Roost, anticipating my Roost, I expected that he would double out into the Muck. And the problem with staying in and roosting with the Mew was I was at 11%, I would go up to 61 and then drop to 49 upon the Muck switch in. And then I would take 25% from Pursuit, I'm back to like 24% HP. And the next time I bring the Mew in, it would have like 23% health and then lose another 12%. I guess I could have double roosted, and before he had the chance to taunt me, go up to 88% health after poison damage, and then he would Pursuit trap me again, and I'd be at a little bit more than 60. I guess that would have been a little better in hindsight, but that was the play that I made in the game. I was starting to feel really flustered because I had no way to handle his core of Muck and Tangrowth. If I had brought Entei, that would have been really great, but I did not. He brings in the Aerodactyl like on his own double, which is a really scary play. I'm not sure what he was anticipating. I guess if he was anticipating my Roost, getting this thing in to do damage would have been a really nice move. Crunch would have done, about 50%. And I would have been at about 50% with my Mew. So this was a good double on his part. He could get it in pretty much scotch-free. But because this thing is also a threat, I do just want to try and get damage off on this, so I once again go for a Hydro Pump. Or no, this is the turn I go for the Z move. I thought that he might be switching into Tangrowth, so I knew that I wanted to try and hit that thing with some damage. And I knew that this would still do like 60 to 70% to the Aerodactyl. And if it's a Jolly, then it can't kill Greninja with Stone Edge. It has like a 20% chance to kill with an Adamant Nature. But anyway, I do go for this, hoping that it might smack the Tangrowth for a good bit of damage, and it does like 40%, so that's nothing. Can you turn on out? And I am going to be bringing in the Audino, because it's kind of like the only switch in that I have. He is going to take this as an opportunity to switch out into Muck as I wish. And even though he can hit me with super effective poison damage, I can kind of Wish Protect up until I can Wish Knock Off up until the point that he taunts me, which is what he's going to do right here after he gets another poison with the Poison Touch. I don't know what folks say about these 30% poison chances. When Scald burns, they're like, oh man, that's some hot water. So I don't know what the parallel is for poison. But in any case, as you can see, we are starting to whittle down this Muck, which is nice. It's just a question of whether it's too little too late or not. But we do bring in the Greninja, because if he just goes for another dark type move, we can resist that, and we can still take a poison move if needed. It's not going to one hit kill us because this is a a muck that is burned. And he actually doubles into the arrow again. I guess he was anticipating my switch in to, I'm not sure into what, but I guess it doesn't matter. Arrow can revenge just about anything on my team. So he does double again into the Tangrowth because there's no reason not to. I've already burned my Z move. There's not a move that I can go for that really threatens it. I can U-turn. That's about it. And he doubles into the arrow again. I guess he thought that I was going to double with my Greninja, but I do have the U-turn. So one thing that's really been hurting me up to this point in the match is that I don't have Stealth Rocks up, and I don't have Spikes up. So I figure now I really need to go into the Benjamin to try and set up my rocks, because I'm just getting killed out here. It's really nuts. And I figure there's a small chance that he switches out versus my Bronzong fearing Gyro Ball. I went Heavy Slam over Gyro Ball because I wanted to hit the Clef Key for a bit more damage, because that can otherwise switch in on me. I did put Earthquake on after my team builder, as I mentioned, so maybe I should have taken off Heavy Slam and put on Gyro Ball after the addition of Earthquake, but I did not do that. And so yeah, hoping that he might switch out here fearing Gyro Ball, I just go for my own rocks. But he does Mega Evolve, and he goes for his own Stealth Rocks, which is an awesome play. It's just awesome foresight on his part, because it kills both my Thundurus and my Mew. And so I'm really only playing this 6v3. I'm not playing 6v5 like it's shown on the screen. I go for Toxic in case he switched into Manaphy, which he did not, and then I go into my Audino because I'm hoping I can like Wish Protect up. It turns out that I can't, because Stone Edge does a good bit of damage to me, and with that poison damage, I'm not even going to be able to heal up. Greninja's going to come in, and if he is Jolly, he has a he can do max damage of 93%, so it's probably about a 50-50 roll to kill me. If he's Adamant, I don't think it's a roll, or it's like a 90% roll in his favor to kill with a Stone Edge. And then there's also always the chance to miss. So I've got my fingers crossed here in this spot, and he does connect. So that pretty much spells the end of the game for us. And he is going to switch out his arrow, because there's no reason for him not to. Like, he can secure a 6-0 win if he just switches out. So, you know, what are you going to do about that? He'll eventually take out my Bronzong, and then the arrow is going to get passive kills on my Thundurus and my Mew with its Stealth Rocks. So, yeah, this was one of the toughest losses that I've taken for as long as I've been uploading to YouTube. I'm not surprised that I lost. This is a very hard matchup for me, and as you guys can see, he team built very well. The Muck set was very good. The Tangrowth set hard walled most of my team. I didn't have any secondary checks to Tangrowth once my Nidoking went down. You know, I still was hoping that I wouldn't get 6-0'd, and alas, here we are at the losing side of a 6-0. So definitely learned a lot from this game. I was pretty disappointed right after I lost, and I talked to Greg, and you know, we both agreed that, you know, there are some things that we could have done differently, but you know, I don't think that Greg really did anything wrong, and for me, I'm just going to use this as a learning opportunity, and I'm also going to use it as motivation to work extra hard and make it to the playoffs, so that I get the chance to rematch Greg potentially, because I would really like to show him that I'm a better battler than what I've demonstrated here. So that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you check back to my channel for week 3 of UBC action. We are going up against Professor Chip and his Bristol Bulu, who are off to a good start this season as well. And make sure you check out my other gaming and Pokemon content while you're on my channel. So until the next time, I will see you all later.